dream wedding, if you live in America, might consist of a beautiful white dress and Prince Charming waiting at the front of the church. Your dream wedding, if you live in another part of the world, might include being spit on, slaughtering a cow, going to a fat farm, being abducted, or being tied to a tree and having rotten food thrown at you. According to List25.com, the one thing every human society has in common is marriage. It doesn't matter how isolated or how backwards it is, if you stick around long enough, you'll find yourself at something at least resembling a wedding. That being said, it will almost certainly not be what you expect. In fact, it is likely to be gross, confusing, terrifying, or any mixture of the three. In this speech, I will show you examples of these three types of wedding traditions and more. Americans have such wedding traditions as a father walking his daughter down the aisle or a couple exchanging rings by soft candlelight. However, in other parts of the world, brides and grooms endure wedding traditions that range from weird, transforming, violent, and downright humiliating. I'm going to share with you today wedding traditions from around the world that fall into three major categories. The first category is weird and transforming, where brides have to change their appearance or the wedding traditions are just downright strange. Violent, which includes such ideas as abduction or slaughtering animals, and humiliating, which includes the tradition of not being allowed to go to the bathroom. The first set of wedding tradition falls under the category weird and transforming. In France, the tradition of charivari is where the community follows the newlyweds to their honeymoon location, stands outside, beats on pots and pans, and screams and yells until the couple comes out and serves them refreshments. This is meant to show unification and celebration of the union, but I think it's downright weird. An example of a transforming wedding tradition comes from Amanda Green, writing for Women's Day magazine. She says, 1 to 3 days before the wedding, Indian women have henna tattoos applied to their hands and feet in elaborate patterns. The ceremonious application can take hours, and oftentimes the groom's initials are hidden in the detailing for him to find on their wedding night. If he finds them, the couple will have good luck, and if he can't, he must buy his bride a gift. In other parts of India, young girls are married to animals in mock ceremonies. This is meant to ward off bad spirits so that the young girls may marry a real boy someday. In Bermuda, the tradition of burying a cedar sapling inside the wedding cake. After the wedding cake has been eaten, the couple take the sapling and plant it in their front yard. The degree to which the cedar sapling grows will determine the strength of their union. At British weddings, it is tradition to have a chimney sweep as a guest of honor. The bride and groom do not need to know the chimney sweep for him to be present. This tradition comes from the story of a chimney sweep saving the life of King George II. So people in Britain believe that having a chimney sweep will make them have a blessed union. Another example of a transforming wedding tradition comes from Sparta, where women would shave off all of their hair and dress up like men. This was meant to show the strength of the women so that they would be able to win the perfect husband. That leads us to the weirdest wedding tradition of all. In Mauritania, women go to fat farms in an effort to find a husband. In this culture, being fat is being beautiful, and the husbands come to the fat farms to pick out their wives. Now that we have covered the category of weird and transforming, let's move on to violent wedding traditions. Our second set of wedding traditions falls under the category of violent. In gypsy culture, men often kidnap the women against their will that they want to be their wife. If they are able to force the woman to stay with them for 2 to 3 days, then she must officially become his wife. According to Stephanie Pappas, writing for Life Science magazine, in a traditional Zulu ceremony, the groom's father slaughters a cow to welcome the bride. The bride then places money inside the stomach of the cow to symbolize that she is part of the family. In South Korea, a groom must remove his socks and shoes and have his feet bound at the ankles. All of the men at the ceremony then take turns beating him on the feet with a dead fish to give him strength for his first night as a married man. In Mongolia, a couple take a knife and together with it kill a baby chick. They then gut the chick and inspect its liver. If the liver is found to be in good shape, they may set their wedding date. If not, they must do it again day after day till they find a suitable liver, otherwise they can never get married. Now that we have heard of weird and transforming wedding traditions and violent wedding traditions, our final stop is the category of humiliating wedding traditions. Our final set of wedding traditions falls under the category humiliating. The Scottish tradition of blackening the bride includes the bride's friends kidnapping her, tying her to a tree, and taking turns throwing rotten food at her. They may throw rotten eggs, or they may even throw motor oil at her. The point of this tradition is that if she can endure this type of humiliation, then she can endure anything in life, including marriage. According to odde.com, members of the Tudong community in Malaysia do not allow newlyweds to go to the bathroom for 3 days or 3 nights following their wedding. If they do, they will have bad luck. This bad luck can come in the form of a broken union, the death of children, or even infertility. The couple is starved and given little water in preparation for this ceremony. In Kenya, the father of the bride spits multiple times upon his daughter during the wedding ceremony. This is meant to show his blessing upon the marriage. In France, friends of the bride and groom gather up food and trash left over from the reception, put it in a toilet, and then have the bride and groom drink from it. This is meant to show unity. Now we have covered all the categories of wedding traditions from around the world. Today we learned about some very different wedding traditions from around the world. We learned that in some countries, in order to be married, the bride must transform her appearance. We learned in some countries that violence leads the way in marriage. We also learned that some brides and grooms must endure humiliation to get married, and that some wedding traditions are just downright weird. In America, wedding traditions are a beautiful, loving, and sacred event. However, brides and grooms in other parts of the world must endure a great deal to become married. Now that you've learned what wedding traditions are like in other parts of the world, ask yourself this question. If these traditions took place in America, do you think as many people would get married?